Good morning. We're excited to welcome you to today's webinar. My name's Diana Sunshine, and I'm part of the Coursera team, and I'm greeting you today from Silicon Valley, California. And I'm very excited for today's presentation on Arizona State University's Master of Computer Science program. We have people joining us from all around the world, and what I want everyone to do is get a little bit comfortable with the Zoom interface. And if you kind of mouse over the bottom of your screen, you're going to be able to see a chat symbol. Go onto that chat and just type in where you're joining us from today, and we can just see who we're interacting with. Oh, so we have somebody from Bangladesh, Minnesota, New York City. Welcome, Daniela. Egypt, Russia, India, Alabama, Chicago, Southern California. This is amazing. This is truly how our degrees work at Coursera and at Arizona State, that it's global and it's amazing. So we have two experts from Arizona State with us today, Christina Sebring and Dragan Boscovic. And so I'm going to turn it over to you guys to walk us through the program.
All right, thank you, Diana. So I'm Christina Sebring. I am a graduate advisor in the School of Computing, Informatics, and Decision Systems Engineering.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Dragan Boscovic, research professor at the School of Computer Sciences.
Yes,
okay.
That's the easy way. It's
easy
a
way.
long school name.
Yeah.
And behind the scenes on chat, you'll also see Nicole Plachecki. She's our Student Services Coordinator Associate. Araxi Havanesian, she's our Graduate Advising Manager. And Allison Kieran, who's our Assistant Director. So today we're going to give an overview of the MCS program, go over what the admissions requirements are, talk about the application process and deadlines, and then answer your questions.
So we go to the next slide. And I start this by explaining what is the course and also giving you a bit of the background about the school. I would like to start by explaining that we are one of the largest graduate school in the nation. We have 5,000 students, undergraduate students. That is last year number. We are growing 20% year on year. So this year it should be almost 6,000 students. In graduate courses, we have enrolled roughly 1,500 students. We are also one of the schools that is very renowned for its international online courses, and we are very big on innovation. We are #1 by some metrics for third year now, I believe. Okay. Yeah. With that in mind, I think you would be very well suited to really come and do your graduate course in environment that we offer. I like to also explain that within this course, this specific program, we have 20 or so courses that we offer. Some of them are mandatory. We have foundations courses and you will need to basically take them. However, when it comes to the other courses, it is up to you to basically choose between systems, applications, and some electives courses so that you can really tailor your degree towards those skills that you feel are the most valuable in the environment or in the industry that you are aiming to find your employment in. I would explain what are those skills that you should be able to attain after you graduate from this course. So we have some courses that will give you very good foundation in really computational science. So you would learn about processes, you would be able to also understand protocols and how it works almost at the hardware level. Nevertheless, we know that it is not everything that is happening really at the edge these days, that we are very much into cloud computing. So you would be able to learn about data analytics, data management, data integrity, also system security. And of course, there would be some courses that will help you also understand how would you architect your software stack and help you basically come up with applications that are not only efficient, but also very stable and secure when they execute. So with that in mind, I would like to now turn over to
me.
you, and you would be then explaining what are those employers that we have very close interaction with, and that some of our past graduates now are basically powering those big companies to success.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you. Yes, our graduates, all those skills that you mentioned, our graduates take those skills that they've learned and are sought after to develop those leading edge applications and technology you spoke about to global companies such as some of the ones mentioned on your screen, like Amazon and GoDaddy, and Intel, Microsoft, PayPal, Salesforce, and that's just some of them. That's not an all-encompassing picture. In fact, GoDaddy has said they love ASU students because they're passionate, smart, scrappy, and dedicated to making a difference. So,
oh, that is good.
Yes. So before I get into admissions application information, I did want to remind everybody that there's a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So as we go, if you have questions, if you could use that feature, it actually makes it a lot easier for us to be able to see and answer your questions at the end of the presentation. So our admissions requirements, we have an overview appearing on the screen. So we'll have 3 start dates each year. We just had our first cohort start the program this fall in August. So that is currently in progress. We'll
50
have
plus students.
Yes, yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, over 50 students started with us in fall. So they have started our first section of classes. We have our second cohort starting this January for the spring semester. And then we'll also have a summer start in May.
Okay.
So the MCS program, as you mentioned, consists of 10 courses or 30 credit hours. The total cost for the program is $15,000. So that's all inclusive, includes all fees and everything. So total cost of $15,000. For all students at ASU complete what we call a culminating experience. So these students will do project portfolio, which is a culmination of all the projects they'll do throughout their courses. We do ask students to enroll every fall and spring semester. And they'll have a plan of study with their degree requirements. ASU does offer financial aid, but it is subject to availability, and eligibility is determined on an individual basis. So getting into the details of our admissions requirements, we do have a minimum cumulative GPA requirement of 3.25, which is in the last 60 credit hours of the undergraduate degree. Now, for students who may have completed the degree outside the US, you should enter your GPA as it appears on your transcripts, because we know countries around the world use different scales. So it's actually best to go ahead and enter that just as it appears.
And we know how to translate it basically ourselves.
Yes, we'll evaluate it based on the country where the education took place. So ASU has a lot of international students and a lot of data and a lot of references that we can go off for that. So it should be entered just as it is on your mark sheet. We also require at least 2 semesters of advanced math equivalent to calculus 1 and 2 and a background in discrete math. So that is necessary math to be able to succeed in our graduate courses. And that math requirement must be completed with grades on the transcript at the time of the application. So the math has to be complete at the time that they apply. We also need official transcripts from all post-secondary institutions you have attended. So everything attended basically after high school, we need those transcripts, community colleges, universities, so that we can see your full academic history and fully evaluate your courses. Now, if you do have issues retrieving your transcripts, you should contact our enrollment team, and their email is appearing on the screen, mcsenrollment@asu.edu, and they can assist you with some alternative options of getting those to ASU. When they're doing the application, you also have to write a personal statement. So that's a brief statement explaining why you're interested in the grad program, what you hope to get out of it and contribute to it. And then there's also an application fee. It ranges from $70 to $115 depending on your status, domestic or international. Yeah. The program does not require the GRE or letters of recommendation. So those are both optional.
That is good to know.
Yes.
So application fee, you are?
Oh yeah, so the application fee varies depending on their status. So we do have some prerequisite knowledge that we require for this program. This is required to make sure students have the right foundation to be successful in these courses. So the topic areas are appearing on the screen right now. You'll see a computer organization and assembly language programming, data structures and algorithms, operating systems, principles of programming languages, which is an advanced programming class. I'm dealing a lot with compilers and usually taken in the third year or so. Introduction to theoretical computer science and introduction to software engineering. So you have to, as you see, it says to understand at least 4 of these topics below. What that means is that's the minimum requirement for admission. We do require knowledge in all 6 of these topics. But they have to have at least 4. At least 4 to be eligible for admission, and that has to include the computer organization and data structures course, because that is critical knowledge for any of our classes. So those have to be completed at the time of application. Now, anything incomplete, we will ask the students, they still need to go back and learn that. And that, again, that's to ensure they're going to be successful in their classes. But we do have an option. We have what's called an online proficiency test. So students can take this if they've learned this knowledge maybe outside of professional coursework, maybe through professional experience or personal experience, they can take the online proficiency test. And there is a link for the interest form on the screen right now. It's a shortened link, so links.asu.edu/MCS exam. So they can go ahead and fill that out if they're interested in taking that. It is an online proctored exam. Those results are sent right to ASU. There is no minimum passing score because we evaluate the test results in combination with all the other materials. So international students, very popular program for international students. So ASU has an English proficiency requirement that all international students have to meet. And it's required if a student has received all of their degrees outside the US from a country where the primary language that is spoken is not English. So we accept TOEFL, IELTS, PTE, or the online Duolingo English test. So the enrollment team can help you get signed up for the Duolingo test if you're interested. And again, you can reach them at mcsenrollment@asu.edu. Now, English proficiency is good for 2 years. So if you've taken it previously, we'll accept it as long as it's within 2 years of the admission term. So it does have to be taken after January 2017 for the spring admission. So visa requirements, if you're not a US citizen but are living in the US, ASU does need a copy of the visa, so that can be sent right to ASU graduate admissions. So they can be reached at gograd@asu.edu. If you're an international that living outside the US, not coming to the US, you don't need a visa. So you'll actually select JN when completing your application, which is just a designation for an international student not coming to the US. And that'll help make sure there's no additional task items or anything as you move through the process. So transcripts, we do have 3 options for submitting your transcripts. If you're local, you can definitely bring the documents into the admissions office. You can provide an attestation from the issuing institution or the Ministry of Education, or you can send to ASU electronically through parchment feed, particularly if you're sending your transcripts from an institution in India or China. But again, the enrollment team can help guide you and assist you if you have questions about getting your transcripts to ASU. We also have some more information about sending transcripts in the FAQ document, posted on our website, and we'll give that link again at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
So this is new. Dragan, this is getting ready to launch in mid-November. So what we're going to have available is a pathway option for students who may not have that GPA requirement we mentioned, that
3.25.
Yeah, in the last 60 hours. So for these students, they can basically enroll as a non-degree student as a non-degree student at ASU, and they can establish a high graduate GPA, which will assist them in meeting the admissions requirement. And then those classes can also then be transferred into the MCS degree, so they'll still make progress toward the degree, while trying to establish that they can be successful in our graduate courses. So we'll ask the students to take 3 classes, part of the MCS courses that you went over earlier, and earn that 3.25 GPA, which is a B+ average. And then if they're able to do that, that will assist them in meeting one of the admissions requirements. They still have to meet everything else, but this is an opportunity for students who may need to boost that GPA to be eligible. So that will be on the MCS website mid-October and available starting spring 2019. So that's brand new.
That is exciting. Okay.
Yeah, so it's another option for them.
Another option for international students to meet the requirements.
Absolutely. Cool. So what the application process is, there's a direct link on the screen, links.asu.edu/MCS-application. That'll take you right to the application for ASU. You can apply directly to the program, submit the application and pay the fee, and then make sure you send all the documentation to ASU. And we're gonna need all that done by November 15th. So there's still a lot of time, but we do recommend doing it early. That way you get an early decision. You know you're starting the program. If there are any other next steps, maybe a recommendation to take that proficiency test or anything like that, we can tell you early. So you still have time to get those items completed in time for the spring start. So if you are interested in starting in spring, we do encourage you to get that application started and in. So that's the only way to get it evaluated.
And do you know other questions?
Yeah, we can definitely answer some questions. I mean, we have some frequently asked ones on the screen. Yeah.
Wonderful. So what I would like to do is just start asking some questions that everyone's put into the Q&A. Does that sound like a good next step for you guys? Sure. Wonderful. So the first question that is, and sometimes these questions are a little specific to one person's situation, but I do think that if you can answer the question broadly to make it more applicable to a broader group, that's great. So Pawan is asking that, she says, I have an MS degree in electrical engineering from SUNY Buffalo with 5 years of software engineering experience. Currently working on with an H-1B visa. And does it say, do I require a GRE and TOEFL and the letters of recommendation?
Okay, so I want to make sure I got those details correct. So it sounds like the degree was completed in the United States. So then in that case, the English proficiency would not be required. We do not require the GRE or the letters of recommendation for this program at all. So that is a no for sure. If there's an electrical engineering degree, there might be a couple of those prerequisite topics that are covered.
Yes.
Knowing for anybody who's worked in the field for 5 years, that online proficiency test is probably a good option, because that allows you that ability to demonstrate that knowledge that you would have gained through professional experience and not coursework. So for students in a similar situation, they should consider taking that proficiency test to help demonstrate knowledge in those prerequisite areas. Hopefully that answered the question, Diana.
Yeah, I think that does. And then definitely we know that the letters of recommendation are optional.
Yes, absolutely.
So Kimberly asks, what type of career services are offered with this program?
Do you want me to take that one?
Yes, please.
So we
Christina.
we have
came back.
No worries. We have ASU career services, so for all ASU students, and then they also have access to Fulton engineering specific career services. So they can help with things like refining a resume or CV, with mock interviews, and they'll have access to Handshake, which is a nice job board that all ASU students have access to. They don't place directly, but they can help with those skills that are part of that process of applying and interviewing and connecting with employers. So and they also have virtual career fairs and things like that that would be good for the MCS online students. So.
Perfect. There's a question that I know I can answer, which is someone says, if you have a degree from an English-speaking country, even if it's not the United States, is the English test still required? And the answer is no.
Well, okay, I will say there's probably it depends there.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
So most likely not, but I would say they should probably just contact our enrollment team, specifically that person individually, just to confirm. So likely no if the country speaks English, but I don't want to give a blanket, absolutely not. I'd rather have them reach out to our enrollment team just to make sure.
And there are some international countries, though, that don't require TOEFL, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct, but we'd have to verify that with grad admissions, and so we don't have a published list. But yes, there are definitely countries, international countries, that don't require it. But we'd want to verify on the list
on case by case basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, so Madhu is asking about the courses that are part of the pathway. Can you speak to that process again?
So yes, so the pathway the courses they'll take will be our regular MCS online classes. We'll have certain sections for the non-degree students, and that'll be designated for them. And it'll say CS non-degree students once they're in the pathway program. So maybe not every class that's available to the degree learners, at least initially, will be available. So maybe we have more students in the track. But there will be classes available every semester for students who are doing the non-degree path to be able to build up that GPA to qualify for admission.
Perfect.
Hopefully that answered the question.
I think so. Are there any specializations areas offered? And if yes, what specializations are offered?
Do you want me to take that?
So I can start,
Okay.
and then you can add. So I think specialization courses, so it is optional to be short. We have courses that are very much tuned onto data engineering and data science. So it can be specialization in big data, but we are not offering that formally, I would say, or if it is true. So I think we have that, but it would be more optional for a student by really choosing those courses in a way to build that specialization himself or herself.
That's true. Yeah, I think long term we'll have concentrations, degree concentrations, so they can get a specialized concentration available in the future, and specializations as well. But as of now, it's just the general Master of Computer Science program, and then they can choose their classes based on their interest in those specialization. But we definitely did lead with a lot of the data classes. Yes.
We have data classes and we have security classes as well, cyber security, so they can get those in their portfolio and have those skills that are relatively unique and specialized.
Great. Okay, so this is a great question. Is this degree accredited? And if so, what accreditation does it have? And then I would love to know, does the word online show up on the diploma?
But that's a complicated question because it's a graduate degree, right? So here at ASU, our undergrad degrees are accredited. So it's a graduate level degree. So our undergrad program is definitely accredited, but it doesn't work the same at the graduate level. So, but ASU is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. So then by default, yes. The online designation does not appear on the degree or the transcripts. Your degree and your transcripts appear identical to students who are completing it on campus. So it'll say the Master of Computer Science degree. No indication that the classes or the program was done online.
Excellent. So Ryan has a question. He says, I know there are 6 terms per year in the program. How many terms can I skip in a calendar year?
Okay, so the short answer is you can skip the summers. You have to be enrolled every fall and spring in at least one class And so we'll have, each semester we'll have multiple sessions. So it'll run session A and session B because the classes are 7.5 weeks long. They can choose just to take one class in session A or one class in session B, but it has to be at least one class per fall and spring semester, and then they can skip the summer if they want to.
Perfect. I'm just typing this in so that as well. Great. So now Paul is asking, are Coursera's MOOC certificates and specializations enough to prove a background in calculus?
No, is the short answer. So we actually need an official course from a university or college with calculus 1 or 2 on the transcript. So unfortunately, no, you cannot demonstrate the math proficiency with the Coursera coursework. So you'll need to complete those at, you can get that at pretty much any community college or 2-year school, college, as well as universities would be the best place. And it's offered online as well through many institutions.
Okay, and then there is a math test, correct? Or is that test actually a CS test that they can take to prove some competency?
The proficiency exam for the prerequisites has a component. It'll cover discrete math, but it doesn't cover the calculus 1 and 2. And then even other standardized tests only go through Calc 1, so at least Calc 2 would have to be taken.
Perfect. Okay. This
you
next
can't
question.
math,
yeah, you've got it. You got to take the math for an engineering degree. That's kind of always the case.
Okay, so Thomas has a really good question. Thomas has an official transcript, and it's in his possession, but he wants to know how he can get it to you without it leaving his possession.
I guess it would depend on, he has to have the seal, and so ASU is going to require a copy of that official seal. There are some avenues where the university itself can send that electronically to ASU. So that would probably be the best thing to do, is to contact the university. The CS enrollment team can probably give them some guidance on additional options for getting the transcripts here, because there are some electronic options where he doesn't have to relinquish his personal official transcript. I mean, if he's local, he could bring that to grad admissions. I guess it kind of depends a little bit more on his situation. So that would be a great individual question to reach out to our enrollment team for.
Excellent. For the MCS pathway requirements, how is the process handled kind of from the admission standpoint? So I hope that makes sense. Like how do they prove that they've gone through that pathway?
Well, okay, I guess that question could actually be answered 2 different ways, because the question could be, how do you get into the pathway? Which that information will be on that MCS website in mid-October. It'll explain, basically they'll go in and do a non-degree application, but it's very specific to our program. So you should wait for that information to be on our website. And then for non-degree students, if you have a bachelor's degree, you can go ahead and come in as a non-degree student. We'll ask you to do an onboarding, and there's always a disclaimer given that because we didn't check all those prerequisite and GPA requirements, you're responsible for all the prerequisite knowledge for the classes. Now, once you complete the 3 classes and you have your GPA, then you can go ahead and submit a standard application to the online MCS, and we'll go through and evaluate everything. So all the academic history, including those classes taken at ASU, prerequisites, math, and all those other items. So hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, at least to me.
That's one.
I'm a fan.
So Raj is asking, is there any specialization in machine learning?
As we said, there are no specialization per se offered. Nevertheless, we have courses that are focused on machine learning, on artificial intelligence, and I think he will be able to choose those courses if he is interested in acquiring those skills.
Statistical machine learning is on the schedule for fall B.
Yes, it should be, there soon.
Great. And then Dawit has a question about, he's an international student and he's wondering if he's eligible to receive financial aid.
very subject to availability. A lot of the, I guess, standard financial aid has some citizenship requirements. It would probably be good to look through the ASU financial website or even contact them directly about availability, because there are some additional requirements in there. But I would definitely look at the website.
Yeah, and see what is there in terms of the sources. Yeah.
So Austin has an interesting question. Oh, I think somebody had answered it, but it looked like to understand what that proficiency test looks like. Is there kind of a way to look at that to prepare for it, or is it just that you sign up and take it?
Well, okay, so there's a website for it. If they're interested, they can complete the interest form, and then they're sent some more information with the website for ETS, and they have some sample questions. We also send some topic areas out with some links to actually some Coursera courses to help them prepare to take that test. So, I mean, the Coursera courses can't be used to satisfy the prerequisites, but they can definitely utilize to help prepare for the test. So if they're interested, I'd go ahead and complete the form, and then we can get out that additional information to them.
Excellent. Okay. And Kimberly's asking, what program languages are taught as part of the program?
Oh, I'm going to defer to.
So I can answer those. I think we would offer, for sure, C++. We would offer Python and JavaScript. Those are three that will be definitely there. And then some courses might offer some other, which are specialized for that particular domain. If you are interested in data visualization, they might have their own scripting language that they will prefer to teach. But on the side of the basics, as I said, that would be C++, Java, and Python.
Perfect. Another question is someone asking, if I begin with the online program, can I join the on-campus program at a later date, or do I need to reapply?
You would need to reapply. Anytime there's a campus change, almost always requires an application, but our on-campus program actually has slightly different admissions requirements. For example, the GRE and letters of recommendation are required because on-campus students have the option to work with faculty and potentially even do a thesis. So that's why there's more competitive admissions requirements, if you will. So it does require another application, and it is reviewed by a different admissions committee than the online.
Great. Someone's asking, how soon can the courses be completed? So it's like, how quickly can someone actually get through if they attend all the sessions and take one class or whatever the entire time?
Diana, that's largely going to depend on what their other life obligations are. I've seen a lot of our students are working full-time, and these classes are accelerated. They're 7.5 weeks. So our recommendation currently is to take no more than one per session, but that's still completing 2 classes per semester. But in doing that, you could do 5 a year and complete the program in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
So now, I mean, for someone who maybe isn't working, they could take a heavier course load and complete it faster, or maybe if they have other things going on, they might have to do it a little slower. So that largely depends on other factors, but it could definitely be done in 2 years. Yeah.
Great. So this other person's asking, are there evaluation of transcripts by a third party like Global Credential Evaluators or WES? Do you guys use any of those services?
So because the transcripts, we ask for the direct official transcripts to be sent, and then we go through and look at the original mark sheets or transcripts and evaluate it that way. They do have to be translated if they're in another language. So I hope that's answering the question, because you can send it through like a transcript service, like the parchment service to get it to ASU. But the actual evaluation, we actually look at the original mark sheets.
Perfect. And so there's going to be a series of kind of some international questions right now that are coming up. And one was like when we are talking about 30 total credit hours, most of the people talk about classes per, like they said, total class hours per semester. Is there a way that you could think about that? How many class hours per semester?
So I guess, again, there's multiple ways to kind of answer that question depending on their perspective. Each of our classes is 3 credit hours. So the program's 30 credits, they take 10 classes. So each class is 3 credit hours.
Yes.
I mean, if you're talking about the number of hours you need to spend per week in class, right now the current recommendation is right around 15 to 20, because again, they're accelerated. There's 7.5-week classes. So there is a good time commitment needed to be successful in these graduate classes, because they are just as rigorous as our on-campus classes, which span 15 weeks.
Perfect. Paul is a French student, and they don't use the same names for Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 in Europe. And so do you know what the difference between Calculus 1 and 2 really is? Is there a way to explain what that person would need if they're coming from Europe?
So that's definitely not unique to just Europe. Around the world, different students take different math requirements. So there's a bit of knowledge that comes there from just evaluating a lot of applications. So you can look at really the course description, which gives, I guess, the topics that are covered in Calculus 1 and 2 here. If there's ever a concern that, oh, my course titles are different, you can always upload those course descriptions with your application, and that actually is extremely helpful to be able to have those course descriptions right up front. And then we can see, oh yeah, that course they took did match our Calculus.
How it maps some to each other, yes.
So it would really come down to the course description. Our admissions committee may even reach out to you and say, do you have a syllabus or a course description for, X class? Because we want to see if it's equivalent. But up front, if you have those available, it can definitely help expedite the processing if you provide those course descriptions and syllabus with the application itself.
Great. Well, there's definitely been a lot of questions that have already been answered. I'm going to go through some of them that have been answered to see if there's any that would be applicable for this broader group. So we say that the program is 100% online. So are these sessions delivered as recorded sessions, or are they live?
You want to take that?
I can take that. So we would have pre-recorded sessions on most of the courses. We would have some real-time broadcast on specific courses just to answer the questions and work throughout some of the examples and the problems that we might like to share with larger public. But the lectures will be pre-recorded. So, and also most of the exams or the assignments will be online. Not most, all of them, basically, okay.
Perfect. And so, and I know you talked about this, but I think it's important to repeat it. But what if you don't have a CS, like undergraduate or a CS background, but you're interested in pursuing a CS graduate degree? What is the best path for someone like that?
Would you take that, Christina?
Yeah, so there's, I mean, it's kind of a spectrum, because there's some students who maybe have, for example, an electrical engineering degree, who maybe have some of that prerequisite knowledge and are just missing more of the computer science fundamentals, or maybe they've even been working in the field where they could take the proficiency exam, for instance, to prove their knowledge. Now, if you've never done anything in computer science, as an advisor, I would have to recommend that you actually take those prerequisite courses and build up your foundation to make sure you're going to be successful. Because what we don't ever want a student to not be successful in the class. We want everybody to get good grades and graduate. So that's what a lot of these requirements are about, is to make sure that you have the right foundation coming in. So if you're coming from a non-CS background, I would say you can start taking the classes even locally, since not all the undergrad classes are online, even though this program is online, to help build that foundation to be ready for the program.
And also pathway is an option for them too, okay? Yeah.
Great. So somebody's asking if this would be a good degree or path if you're interested in getting a PhD in computer science.
I should probably share this answer.
Yeah. You can start.
Okay, I mean, it's a master's degree. You'll have an earned master's degree, which usually can count towards credit toward a PhD. But what they probably won't get through the coursework is necessarily that research experience, but that doesn't mean that disqualifies them from being a PhD student, right?
And I can speak on that. So you would definitely have a foundation to go for a PhD after graduating from this course. As we said, it is necessary to have that research interest and basically find a professor that will be offering you good project or good topic to work on after graduation, and then you are on your way to getting your PhD. Okay,
I mean, the only thing I would add is our PhD is not online, so they would have to. If you want to join, that's probably going to have to be in person, at least through ASU.
Perfect. This next question is really a re-clarification about the proficiency test. And so it says, if I pass the proficiency test without having the prerequisite credit hours, does that waive the requirements for those prerequisites?
So I do want to reiterate, it's not necessarily a passing score, because the full, I guess, performance on the proficiency exam is evaluated with the transcript. So it really depends on knowledge demonstrated in the topic areas themselves. It is possible that the exam could completely waive the prerequisite requirements, but there's never, I guess, there's no guarantee. So it depends. It's very student specific.
Yes, but then the intention of the test, right, is to make it so that it waives the prerequisite.
Yes, but it's not like, I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not like there's not a baseline passing score, so that would magically waive it all. It's the performance on the test as a cumulative test that is evaluated
in addition to whatever.
Yes. So yes, it has the potential to waive all the prerequisites. But again, it's evaluated student by student with the rest of the application.
Understood. Okay. This is a really good question. Somebody's asking, if I apply to the program and I'm not accepted, will ASU tell me why I wasn't accepted and what I can do to then gain entrance at a later point?
That is our current practice. We're sending a follow-up communication to say, if it was GPA, or if we're recommending you take the proficiency test based on prerequisites, or if it's math. So currently there is communication going out to let students know why the decision was what it was, and even to let them know what they need to do to be admissible in the future. So that is the current practice.
That is great. Now it looks like we're getting close to the end of the questions. I'm going to take a couple seconds to make sure. Oh, it looks like a few more have come in. Is the GI Bill accepted for this program?
So that I know I have students using benefits, but I don't know the intricacies of that because I'm not in like financial aid or the Pat Tillman Center. ASU has a Pat Tillman Center that works directly with anybody using those type of benefits. So I know there are some using it, but I don't know all the intricacies of that well enough to speak to that. But the Pat Tillman Center at ASU could definitely verify that for you.
Here's a good question. What are the common jobs or job titles that your students get after this program?
I mean, I can speak to the campus programs. I mean, we see software engineer, software development. We've seen, some titles are tough because I feel like the titles can be kind of generic.
It can be IT analyst or security analyst, or, it really depends from company and and what they have in mind.
I think I've
yeah.
even seen like machine learning
Specialists.
specialist or recently. So they can vary a little bit depending on the company because they all have their own naming convention, if you will.
Yeah.
So it definitely varies by company.
Perfect. And so I think we had already answered how quickly can you get through the program. This now is a question of how long, like if I want to take my time, how long can I have?
So we will allow you a maximum of 6 years. So that starts from the very time you start the program, you have 6 years to complete it. I mean, that given the registration requirement, you'd probably just be taking one class a semester if you're taking 6 years. But if you need it, you do have 6 years. So that would be the maximum time allowed.
Perfect. It looks like we have somebody who is currently an undergrad and in their last year in a computer science degree, and they want to go directly into a master's in computer science. Can they apply without actually being graduated? Like kind of saying my intention is to be graduated by spring 19, and they apply now?
So they would have to be graduated before they start the program. Just to reinforce that, they do have to have the earned bachelor's. They can go ahead and apply. They'll have to provide documentation of that earned bachelor's after they get like their final transcripts and their degree. If there's any, let's say anything borderline, like the GPA is right at that 3.25 mark, or there's any of those prerequisites in progress, it might be held until we can see a final transcript, but that kind of depends on the student case a little bit. But yes, they can go ahead and get that application in.
That sounds great. Okay. Now there's still a few more coming in.
We have a lot of questions this morning.
I know, it's nice. Well, there was a lot of people that have been on this.
If they're interested. Hopefully we see all their applications.
Now somebody wrote, is the TOEIC enough to prove English proficiency? So it's not the TOEFL and it's not the other one I've seen. Is that a different test, the TOEIC?
I don't recognize those letters. So I would say for English proficiency, they need the TOEFL, the IELTS, the PTE, which is Pearson Test of English, or they can contact our enrollment team to take the Duolingo. So those are the forms currently accepted by graduate ASU admissions. So that's not program specific, that's actually ASU specific. So they need to have one of the other four that we mentioned earlier. But I'd say if they've already taken one that's on that list, they should reach out to the enrollment team. They can probably get them set up for the Duolingo.
So I'm not sure I understand this question. So if it doesn't make sense, we could take a pass on it. They said, is there any chance that a student is invited to the university itself due to excellence in academics or any other measure considered by the university?
I mean, all of our students are welcome to attend graduation. So that would definitely be an invitation, if you will, is to come attend graduation in person. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure specifically what they're referring to, but you're welcome to visit ASU and attend graduation for sure.
Anytime,
yeah, it's an open campus.
Well, graduation is very fun to be able to, attend when you've done everything remotely. I know that it's a big deal. So can we pay tuition fees in installments? Great question.
So there's a tuition and billing business office that can guide a student appropriately on payment options. So ASU is very large, so we don't overlap with the advising and the academics and the financial realm of things, but there is a full department that can give guidance about that, about when the deadlines are and what kind of installments. I know there's payment plans available. I just don't know all the intricacies of those.
Well, and the thing I also do know is that the $15,000 is not due up front. That I do know. And
yes,
so,
that is
and so you only pay for the courses that you're taking at the time.
That is correct. Yes, very good point.
That is, and I think there's sometimes confusion for people looking when they see the price of $15,000. Some people think, oh, is that $15,000 a year or something like that? It's not. It's $15,000 total, and then you pay as you take courses, and so it is a pay as you go or a pay it like in an installment if you want to think of it that way. But there may actually be even other options. Is that what you're saying, Christina?
Yes, yeah, per semester. So you will be charged tuition based on what you register for and what classes. And then you can work with the tuition and billing on options to pay that semester's charges is maybe a better way to state that.
That is awesome. That is
So
a
with
very
math, it is $1,500 per course.
Yes.
Okay, and then you can do math.
Yes.
I have a question that says, is the ITLS this, can they use that as well as the TOEFL? And the answer we know is yes.
Yes.
So that's great. And someone said, once again, I think we've answered this, but it's like, if they want to take all 10 courses in 1 year, can they do that? I know it's impossible probably, but is it possible, even though it's a lot of work?
I suppose it would probably depend a little bit, to be completely upfront and transparent, on course offerings.
Yeah.
Because the program is new. It just started this last August. So there's courses being developed and launched every semester. So I think it's certainly possible, but again, that would be quite a heavy load. So it would really depend on other obligations, if that's a good plan, maybe.
Yeah.
Right now, it might be logistical issues because we don't have 10 courses that are online right now, okay? So if somebody starts, say, this spring, hopefully by then we should have those 10 courses ready. Nevertheless, it is quite difficult to have those 30 credits acquired within a year. It is ambitious, but it is still possible. Okay.
Yeah. It would be a full-time job. Yeah.
That would definitely be a full-time job.
It'd be 40 hours a week of school. Somebody had asked, what's the difference between the MCS on campus and the MCS online, aside from the delivery method?
Nothing. The only thing is the delivery method. The MCS online is taught in person, and the MCS online they've been converted to online format.
That is awesome. Okay. And then somebody asked that if they have a GRE score and they submit it, could that help their increase their chances of being accepted?
I mean, it will be looked at, because anything that comes through the application gets looked at. But again, it's optional. So everything is considered. So it wouldn't be necessarily one thing over another. So everything's looked at cumulatively. So it definitely couldn't hurt to see the GRE scores if they've already done it.
Perfect. So if someone's not ready to start in January, what should they do? Should they just wait to apply, or do you think they should apply now, get in, and then talk about deferring, or what is your recommendation?
Either one. They could apply, and there is an option to defer one time, if that's the choice. There's a small fee for that at the university level. Otherwise, the applications for summer and fall are also open. So that's, if you know, okay, I can't do it in January. The other applications are already open. Of course, we want to see as many applications as possible for spring, but summer and next fall is also an option if that fits better for you.
So if you are saying that you want to do maybe the summer or next fall, the application's open, can I go on, complete it, submit it, get reviewed and accepted that far out at this point, or does it get pushed out?
Yes, so yes, you can get it submitted and reviewed. I will say, as far as application review goes, spring semester will be the priority because that's the most current. So that would be the priority. But yes, they could definitely get a decision with a pending application.
Cool. Somebody's asked, a few people have asked about this. Is there support, like student support, like tutors, or are there mentors, or what type of student support is available?
So there's some tutoring online, but it's mostly writing based at the graduate level. And then I know you mentioned there's live sessions within the courses themselves.
Those are if we have need to interact with students, or if there are some questions that require live interaction, there will be sessions organized. But apart from that, I think everything else will be online.
I know there's a course facilitator for each course. It's
Yes,
pretty heavily
yes,
involved.
and
Mhm.
that will be their primary job to
Yeah.
organize those live sessions if
Mhm.
needed, and answer also questions online if we have specific questions.
Yeah. And those are connected. I think those are facilitated via Zoom, just like this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would be like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. Like that.
This is an interesting question, and we're kind of getting close to the end of our time, so I think we'll take 2 more questions. But this one is interesting. It's like, of the coursework, how much is kind of application skills-based versus theoretical knowledge?
Take that as faculty?
Yeah, I can
There's a mix.
answer that
Yeah.
one. It is definitely mixed, but with online courses, I think there is a specific requirement that they need to be very project focused, because one of the issue is that you won't be working in a larger groups. And for you to get those skills that we offer through the courses, through practical assignments, we would be offering multiple projects throughout the course to help you ingest and digest all that theory that is needed for you to solve those problems. So I would say with online, that would be more biased towards practical implementation and problem solving, rather than just reading and memorizing things from textbooks.
So they'll be asked to do projects to apply the
Yes,
theoretical
yes.
knowledge. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm going to do one last question before we sign off. And the last question I think is really interesting. There's somebody who has said that they applied and they were denied acceptance because they didn't have the CS course background.
Okay.
But if anyone does get denied, there is the pathways, right? And there are options. So what would you recommend for somebody who was previously denied?
So if it was, it depends why they're denied. So in this case, it was missing the prerequisite. So they will have to learn that prerequisite knowledge first, whether they're taking formal courses or maybe self-studying, so to speak, to be able to take that proficiency exam. So for that particular reason for denial, we're asking you to go back and self-study or take the test or take the courses. Things like GPA, there's the pathway where they can come in and demonstrate their ability to succeed in the graduate level classes. If it's for math, you have to go back and take those classes.
Yeah.
So that'll have to be something that's usually done locally or offered online. So again, it varies a little bit by student, but we usually are telling you. Now, the pathway is, again, a non-degree. So anybody who's going to be able to go in and apply for that. I guess as an advisor, I would say if you are missing the prerequisites, just be aware that that knowledge is required to be successful in the class. So you can take the classes, but know that you're going to have to be able to learn that knowledge as you go on your own, or even before taking it.
Excellent. Well, that wraps it up. Do you want to take us to the last slide?
Sure. So if you have follow-up questions that we weren't able to get to, or maybe questions very specific to you, I would reach out to our enrollment team. You can reach them via email at mcsenrollment@asu.edu. They also have a phone number, a toll-free number, I believe, at 844-353-7953. We have our website. It has a lot of information on our website. We have a very robust FAQ document that should address, I'd say, most questions. And that's at the links.asu.edu/MCS. And then, of course, we want to see everybody's application.
Yeah.
So you can go in and apply at links.asu.edu/MCS-application. You can also get to that directly from the MCS website, too. So I guess in parting, we hope to see everyone's applications, but definitely reach out if you have any other questions.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that there's an early deadline on October 12th. And if you get your application in by the early deadline, it will get reviewed quicker and you will have a faster response. And then you can actually even start some classes before the term starts. So we're really excited. So please go online and start your application. And we hope to be able to welcome you into class soon. See you guys.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.